Hello, this is Nihar Chhaya, Fortune 50 Executive Coach, and I want to thank you for joining me on my LinkedIn Live show, The Executive Experience. Today, I have a very special show for you. I'm so delighted to welcome Marshall Goldsmith, world's #1 leadership thinker, world's #1 executive coach, New York Times bestseller, and someone that we all very much look up to. Marshall, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for asking.
I really appreciate it, Marshall. And for those of you that are tuning in right now, we'd love to have you type in where you're tuning in from. Definitely want to take your questions throughout this session. So let us know where you're tuning in from, and also feel free to hit the like button, hit the share button, so you can get your contacts also to not miss this event. And so, Marshall, I wanted to have you on. Largely because, as an executive coach, I've learned over the years so much from you about the craft of coaching. But what I also have learned is the importance of living a meaningful life. And I got to tell you, I saw the Earned Life, your movie, just this week. By the way, I'm going to put the link up for everybody to check it out. And it really moved me because it made me really think about how important it is to balance the achievement drive that we have with also finding purpose and meaning. And I was wondering if you could share with us some pivotal experiences maybe that really helped you center in on your purpose.
Well, my daughter and I were doing research about what matters in life and what leads to great satisfaction in life. And really, there's 6 things that I think matter. First, you've already said is purpose. Why am I here? Somebody said the most important day in your life is when you're born, and the second one is when you figure out why you were born. So purpose is very important. Then after that, you have to have achievement. So you feel like you're doing something, you're progressing. Then you need to have meaning. Why am I doing this? And I define meaning is the results of what you're doing or matter to you. Meaning has to come from the heart. And nobody can tell you what's meaningful for you. The next one is happiness. And by happiness, I mean enjoying the process is what you're doing. So meaning is the outcomes matter to me, and happiness is I like the process. I find joy in it. Then relationships, having great relationships with people. And then finally, being engaged or present in what you're doing. So, our research on this is, if you can just do that, you pretty much win in the game of life. And every weekend, I spend with 50 people now. And I spend about 6 hours each weekend. They're in rotating groups. And these are amazing people. They include people like the head of the World Bank, the head of the Rockefeller Foundation, the head of the Olympic Committee, CEO Cardinal Health, many CEOs, nonprofits. We have Broadway stars. We have basketball, Pau Gasol, the basketball star, Curtis Martin, the NFL Hall of Fame. Just amazing people every week. And we talk about life. And
Yeah.
they go through these 6 questions.
Yeah, and actually, Marshall, I was gonna point that out because I've had the pleasure as part of the MG 100 community to be on these calls with you, and it's tremendously gratifying to also see that there's people who are in all walks of life achieving so much, and yet there is a sense of support and mutual. One thing I really struck by this community is there's no competitiveness. There's no desire to kind of, outshine anybody. In fact, there's a real desire to, like you said, pay it forward with the community. And I was curious, when you think about making your mark in a competitive world that we have, what advice would you have for people who are trying to figure out a way to stop feeling like they're always behind and stop feeling like they're always comparing with others? Is there any advice or wisdom that you've found along your way in that area?
Well, I think the world that we're into today is a much tougher world. I just talked to my daughter, Kelly. Kelly's a professor at Vanderbilt. She's up for full professor this year already. And she got a PhD from Yale, very accomplished. One of her friends is a professor at one of the top schools in Georgia, Emory. And his daughter was rejected from her first 7 colleges this year. And she finally got into Georgia State, the only college she got into. It's tough out there.
Yeah.
It is really, really hard for young people today. The global competition is so hard. So the one thing I would really suggest for especially people today is you need to love what you do. See, if you love what you do, it's not like you're working. So, I mean, you could say I work all the time or I work none, depends on how you want to define it. If you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And so I really think it's important today that people focus on can I do something I really enjoy the process? In two ways. One is, I really like doing this, but two, whatever you're doing, learn to like it.
Mhm.
Learn to make the best of it because you're there. You're there. And the idea that in the new world, I'm only going to work 40 hours a week. Well, good luck on that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting that I think back to some of the qualities you've talked about that make great leaders, like courage,
Right.
humility, discipline, adaptability. It's interesting that nowadays people, and I'm generalizing here, but I think a lot of folks think that, hey, as long as I get a really great title at work and I have a lot of people reporting to me, I'm a great leader.
No.
And I think what you've shown in your coaching, and also even just your comment just now, is that you have to learn to keep getting better, learning to enjoy your work. And with that, I think comes a constant desire for personal development.
It does. And the people that I coach are all ridiculously successful people. So it's not like they're losers. One thing I'm very proud of is my book Triggers.
Mm,
27 major CEOs endorsed that book. Now, why I'm proud of that, 30 years ago, no CEO would admit to having a coach. They would have been embarrassed or ashamed to have a coach. Well, today, these are very, very successful people. If you saw the movie, you saw 6 or 7 of them in the movie.
yeah.
Amazingly distinguished people. And they all say, I need help. I mean, you saw those people in the movie,
Hmm.
right? They didn't act like they were perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one thing that I also have found quite unique in terms of your approach, especially with these very successful leaders, is that you have a nice balance of championing these leaders and clients, but also challenging them,
Oh, yeah.
in a very firm but gentle. Like one thing I think you do well is you actually add a lot of sense of humor to it.
Right.
Because when I'm coaching leaders, there's a certain resistance they might feel, and then initially it's thinking, we're thinking, wow, are we having a conflict between us? When I'm
Yeah.
on your side. But how would you advise people to learn that style? Is that teachable? I mean, and I think oftentimes about employees who want to speak up to power in their companies.
Right.
Is there a way to help
And
you that out?
that's a very different dynamic.
Hmm.
It's a very different dynamic. So I don't want to confuse apples and oranges here. Me talking to my clients and some employee talking to their boss is not at all the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, look, to be fair to the other coaches, I got a lot of bonus cards here.
Hmm.
Let me explain. Now, let's imagine you're the high potential leader, and the CEO has asked me to consider working with you. Now, I'm going to sit there and say, I will work with you if and only if you ask for feedback, you talk about what you learn, you apologize, you follow up, you do all this stuff. Now, if you don't want to do it, it's okay
Hmm.
because I'm not going to work with you. But again, to be perfectly fair, then I said, I guess I have to go back to daddy and tell daddy I can't help you. Now, you saw that movie, you see that other 50 people I did help, and they all got better. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to do this, that would indicate one of us has a problem. Who would that be?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be me.
Right. Well, one thing that I think I learned also just from your stories and wisdom is that you got to pick the right clients.
Oh, it's all about the right clients. So I don't try to convert anybody to do anything. So my clients know what they're getting into. And if they don't want to do it, I don't care. I'm real clear about that. If you don't want to do it, it's okay.
Hmm.
I have a nice life. I don't need you. It's
Yeah.
okay. That's not the same as speaking to your boss, though. It's a
Yeah.
totally different dynamic. So you got to realize, what's it going to do to me? Shoot me, fire me? It's nothing they can do to me, right? My life isn't going to change. If I get paid, don't get paid, it's not going to make a difference to me anyway. Half
Right.
the time, I just coach people for free anyway. Just do it for fun.
Hmm.
Now, if you want to influence up in an organization, you have to look at a different dynamic. This is one of the most important lessons I've learned from Peter Drucker.
Hmm.
And he taught me many things, by the way. Yeah, it's easy somebody said it's easy to look tall if you stand on the shoulders of giants. So I'm very lucky. It's easy for me to appear to be smart. I get ranked #1 leadership thinker. Well, compared to him, I have the brain of a 10-year-old. I mean, this guy was so smart. He taught me so many things. Well, one of the things he taught me is this: our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart, not to prove we're right. That is a very deep comment. So hard to do that. Number two, every decision is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. And if I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, there's one word to describe you. That word is customer. One word to describe me. That word is salesperson. You don't have to buy. I got to sell. Sell what you can sell. You change what you can change. You make peace with what you can't change.
Yeah, that's brilliant. One I think you coined this phrase. Change you, change them, or change your job. I think so many people that I work with, and I've gone down through this with myself too, is that we really think about trying to change things we can't control. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, our mission is to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart and right. Why get in pointless arguments with people over stuff you're not going to change anyway?
Hmm.
Look, life is too short.
Yeah.
Focus on what you can change, not what you can't change. Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned our organization, the 100 Coaches. I'm
Hmm.
not sure everyone listening knows what that is even about.
No,
Let me just do a brief description on that,
please.
just to get people up to speed. Because what happened is I went to a program called Design the Life You Love, sponsored by Aisha Purcell, who I'm sure you might have met her,
Yeah.
wonderful woman.
Amazing.
And she said, who are your heroes? So my heroes are very kind and generous people who are great teachers, like Peter Drucker and Warren Bennis and Alan Mulally and Francis Hesselbein, these wonderful people. She said, you should be more like them. Well, I decided to give everything I know to 15 people for free. And the only price is when they get old, they do the same thing. So I made a little video and put it on LinkedIn. So I'm thinking 100 people would apply, and I'd adopt 15. Well, it turned out over 18,000 people have applied, and now I've adopted about 300. It's called the 100 Coaches Program. And our rules are that there's no money, no guilt, no expectation. The idea is people just give to each other. And the idea is if I give you something, you don't have to give me something back.
Mm.
You just pay it forward to someone else. So
Yeah.
you've been in the organization a little bit. What's some of your reaction
Yeah.
to it?
Oh, it's incredible. I had a chance to come in through Dory Clark, who's a great friend of mine, and Alyssa Cohen, obviously another great friend and someone you know very well. And it's been so enriching to be part of this group. I'm on these weekly calls actually with Rob Nail's Weekly Connect program. So yeah, it's great. And I think we talked about business and our own practices, but what we really also think about is, and I wanted to actually touch on this with you as well, is how we individually get better. Because one thing that you talk about, a lot is your daily questions practice.
Right.
And, so for those of you that follow Marshall, you know that one of the things that I think sets him apart as a coach is that he walks the walk. He's somebody that's actually daily trying to coach himself. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, what impact that practice has had on you, and tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I'll describe the process first, then I'll talk about how it impacts me. First is I've had somebody call me almost every day for 25 years just to make sure I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody asked me, why do I have someone call me every day? Don't I know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory about how to change behavior. That's why I have somebody call me every day. My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I'm too cowardly to do this stuff by myself. I'm too undisciplined to do this stuff by myself. I need help, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
See, once we admit we're just human, we all need help. Everybody I talk to every weekend, right? They do this. Why do they do it? They need help.
Yeah.
They need help. We all need help. I need help. How many of the top 10 tennis players have a coach? 10. Well, it doesn't mean they're bad tennis players. They're smart. I need help. I have people help me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And some people need help once a week. I need help once a day. I need a lot of help out there. Well, the daily question process works like this. Just get out a spreadsheet. On one column, write down a series of questions that represent what's most important in your life. Friends, family, coworkers, health, whatever it is. Every question has to be answered with a yes, a no, or a number. Yes is recorded as a 1, no is a 0 or a number. And then at the end of the week, the spreadsheet gives you a report card. And I'm going to warn everyone in advance that report card at the end of the week might not be quite as beautiful as a corporate values plaque you see stuck up on the wall. So I've been doing this for many years, and I've learned in life it's incredibly easy to talk.
Yeah.
Life is hard to live, easy to talk. And my fine introduction there, you failed to mention one of my incredible skills. You left it out. I'm surprised you left it out. That's the ability to screw something up every day. I pretty much screw something up every day. Hey, well, the hard thing is when you do this process, you get to look at it every day. It's not that pretty. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that pretty. And this takes a lot of courage, humility, and discipline, as you said, to do this. You got to have the courage to look in the mirror. You got to have the humility to admit you're going to prove, and the discipline to do the work.
Yeah.
Now, of those three by myself, I only have one of those three qualities. I have the humility to admit I need help. So I'm good at that one.
Yeah.
But that courage and discipline thing, no, I need a little help on those two.
Right. Well, you know enough to actually ask for help, and that's a huge first step, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that what's really nice about that process too, particularly having somebody call you, is that they're just there to report what you're saying, but they're not judging you. They're not saying like, well, why is it an 8? Or why didn't you walk 10,000 steps today?
Accountability without judgment. I like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't need somebody to judge me. Look, if I screw up, I know I've screwed up. You don't have to point out, I'm telling you I screwed up. I'm not an idiot. Okay. Yeah. I didn't work out today. I didn't do my push-ups. I know that. I don't need a lecture. I'm aware of the fact I didn't do it. The fact, though, that I have to be accountable makes me much more likely to do it.
Yeah. Now, this might be a silly question, but, how do you separate the feeling of always wanting to get better from the feeling of, wow, I'm never there? I think about your Buddhist philosophy as well.
There's two different issues. To me, there's the process and the outcome. It's not like I don't try to achieve things. I try to achieve lots of things. Yet you can't get lost in the outcome of what you're doing.
Yes.
Because this is the basic thing from the Gita. You can't get lost in the outcome because the outcome you can't control. So you really need to do two things at once. You want to strive toward an outcome that's meaningful to you, yet you also simultaneously want to enjoy the process of what you're doing. So you need to be happy in the moment. And those two are not mutually exclusive. One of the guys on our my weekend calls is Safi Bakal. I don't know if you ever met Safi's like when the brains were passed out. I mean, even in our group, he's like off the charts, right? This guy's like
right.
Ultimate genius guy. And Safi realized something that was a breakthrough for him. Back to your question. He said, happiness and achievement are independent variables. Happiness and achievement are independent variables. You can achieve a lot and be happy. You can achieve a lot and be miserable. You can achieve nothing and be happy. You can achieve nothing. Those are two independent variables. And he said that was a real breakthrough for him because he used to think, I will be happy after I achieve something. Mm-hmm. That's the great Western disease. And he realized happiness is not a function of achievement. Happiness is a function of happiness. And making peace with what is going to make you happy. That doesn't mean you're going to achieve anything. So, I think this is a common myth too. Our society perpetuates this myth that happiness and achievement are connected in a variety of ways. One is, if you follow your love, money will come. That's nonsense. Every waitress in Hollywood followed their love, and the only money that comes is the tip they get after they're waiting on tables at the diner. Hey, oh no, maybe not, right? You can't assume that happiness equals money or money equals happiness. And by the way, money doesn't equal happiness either. Right. Look at the opposite. What's the great Western art form? It's always the same. There's a person, they're sad, they spend money, they buy a product, and they become happy. Yeah, that's called a commercial. Have you ever seen one of those before?
Which one?
Have you ever seen a commercial before? How many? Thousands of times. The same message. You will be happy when you buy this, you buy that, you get this, you get that. Wrong. When you buy the product, you just have the product. That doesn't mean you're going to be happy. Happiness doesn't come out there. It's in here.
It's inside. And what makes it brings to mind something that I think was really also stood out to me in the movie was the story about Dennis Mudd, right? You're a roofer.
Yeah.
And do you want to share a little bit about that story? Because I thought that was good.
That was kind of the inspiration for my Penalty for Results coaching. As I'm 14 years old, and Dennis Mudd, and we were very poor, and we had a leaky roof. Well, even if you're poor, you got to fix the roof. So to save some money, Dad has me help the roofer, Dennis Mudd, and he's also very poor. So we work hard, we put on this roof, and we try to do the best we can. It's a very nice roof. And we get done, and Dennis Mudd looked at my dad, his name is Bill, and he said, Bill, I want you to inspect the roof. He said, if that roof is high quality, pay me. If it is not, it's free. I looked at Dennis Mudd, and I thought, man, this guy is poor, but he's not cheap.
Mm.
He's poor, but he's not cheap. He has class. And I said, I want to be like Dennis Mudd when I grow up. Well, I've never done anything that had as much dignity as Dennis Mudd. Why? If I don't get paid, my life goes on. I mean, you saw my house. If I don't get paid, I think I'm going to do just fine. Dennis Mudd was poor. He needed the money.
Yeah.
And that was his food. But he said no. He believed in himself. So I was a little kid that changed my life. And I told that story once, and somebody sent me an email. And this young man was a small business person of the year in Kentucky. And he said after Dennis Mudd put on roofs, he would drive a bus, but he always talked to this kid. After he would drive him on the bus, it changed his life. So sometimes the inspiration is not always Peter Drucker or Alan Mulally or all these fancy people. Inspiration could be a person like Dennis Mudd.
Yeah, I think it's really inspiring to also know that if we all look at our timeline in life, there are teachers through the whole journey. We oftentimes think about college or, or clients, et cetera, but there's folks like that. And I'm sure even, as you mentioned, your parents, right? Your mom taught you at home and so much to offer you. And those kinds of values, I think, are really amazing when they start early, when they start really young.
That's true. And that changed my life, that Dennis Mudd putting on the roof.
Yeah. One of the things that, and I want to encourage anybody who has questions as well, please type in the chat box. We'll definitely ask Marshall about them. One of the things I remember, so our friend Lewis Carter from MG100, you and him did an interview, I think in 2004. This was around the time that I actually was really inspired by your work to get into coaching. And you had a quote in an interview that said, remember that it's not what you say, it's what they hear.
Right.
And I thought a lot about the world we're living in right now as it relates to being very polarized, and people are just talking at each other and not really connecting. And what would you say to the world, to people who are trying to find their way through this really, antagonistic, polarized kind of world? And is there anything to that idea of helping people hear us better?
Well, there's a few things. One is, there's an old saying, it's lonely at the top. Today, it is lonelier at the top.
Mm.
It is incredibly lonely at the top. Those people that I talk to every weekend, they don't have anyone to talk to. Social media, things can be taken out of context. They say one wrong word, dink. It's tough. So I think it's very good to have a support group of people you can talk to. You can be a human being just for 1 hour a week. They get to be humans.
Mm-hmm.
1 hour a week, they don't have to show off. And 1 hour a week, they just be regular people. It's hard. It is really hard. I don't have any solution to societal issues because I just help individuals. I think that it is really a challenge, though, today. And it's very good to be, if you can, as open-minded as you can, hearing other people, being open. Also, realistically, you have to be very careful what you say on any topic today.
It's very true. But one thing that I think you do touch on a lot is
I
said
but one thing, you owe $20
to charity. And one other thing, Marshall, what made me think a lot about, you said I work with individuals, but actually what you had mentioned, I think a few times, is that by working with the top of the top, you have leverage.
Oh, look, I'm not an expert on the environment, yet I've been the coach of the CEO of the Nature Conservancy. I'm not an expert on solving world hunger, but I've coached with Jim Kim, who saved 20 million lives. Mm-hmm. I'm not an expert on curing COVID, but I'm the coach of Albert Bourla, who's the CEO of Pfizer. So, the people that I work with, I mean, I'm not an Olympic athlete, but I'm the coach of the head of the U.S. Olympic Committee. So that the people I work with have a big, big, big influence. And as a coach, what we can do is You can't do everything yourself. But what we can do is help others who do that. And
Yes.
that is our today I was just on a call with a bunch of high school teachers or educators. Well, I'm not helping those kids, but if I'm helping them indirectly, I am. I'm the coach of the St. Jude's. I'm a volunteer. I coach the Dr. Downing, head of St. Jude's. Well, I'm not helping those poor little kids with cancer. If I'm helping him, indirectly, I am helping the little kids
Yes,
with
you
cancer.
are. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. You're bringing them to their best potential, and they have such impact on these people. Right now, in our last couple of minutes here, Marshall, I did want to share a little bit more about your knowledge philanthropy initiative. So
Okay.
this is really cool because I think it actually ties in with this topic of meaning in our
Sure.
life. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, the Knowledge Philanthropy Project is my mission is to give away everything I can to as many people as I can and help as many people I can. It's a limited time I have left to do it. My birthday was this weekend. I'm 72.
Happy birthday.
72. Thank you. And yeah, I don't have forever here on the earth. I'm 72 and I want to just give away as much as I can. If anybody's interested, send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. We're having a knowledge philanthropy call on Monday about how to help young people. And Julie Carrier, who you've met, is just doing some fantastic work of using my material and others' material to help young people. So I'm giving away all my material. You can copy, share, download, duplicate. And the other thing I like is with knowledge, change it, modify it. Non-Condi is doing this with high potential leaders in Africa. She's doing it with high potential leaders. I'm not an expert on high potential leaders in Africa, but if I help her, I'm helping them.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on high school kids, yet if I help Julie Carrier, I'm helping them. So I'm giving everything away. If you can use any of my material, use it and also modify it. Don't feel like you need to copy it, modify it so it fits your needs. Like Sally Helgson and I did a book together called How Women Rise. I love that book. Huge, hundreds of thousands of copies, hugely successful. I'm not an expert on women in leadership. If I help her, though, I'm helping these women.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's one thing I think you've done in your career really effectively is not just writing your own thought leadership, but really collaborating. Right? There's books that you write with people. You edit books. And it's interesting. Very inspiring. I would say that you are willing to give this away in such a very IP paranoid world that we live in. People are so concerned about that's my IP. That's not your IP. But I mean, ultimately, you're just trying to help the world.
Yeah, look. Use it any way you want to use it. And I actually like it if people modify it.
Yeah.
Modify it because I'm a Buddhist. Look, did Buddha ever call me? I use Buddhist material all the time. Did Buddha ever call me and say, Marshall, have you sent me commissions?
Right.
Or Marshall, you must do it like I tell you. No, I didn't recall Buddha ever telling me that. Well, I use Peter Drucker stuff all the time. Well, Peter Drucker doesn't bother me that Marshall, you must use my material, whatever. So I think it's better to modify stuff. That way you own it.
Yeah.
It's not my stuff, then it's your stuff, which is better.
Yeah. And everything's inspired by somebody else. So
exactly. Yeah. And none of us invented this stuff by ourselves.
Right.
I'm just passing it. I'm paying it forward here.
Yeah.
Paying it forward.
And that's our task in the 100 coaches is to keep paying it forward as well. So we're following that example.
Yeah, pay it forward.
Well, Marshall, I want to thank you so much for joining me and our audience as well. I know that they benefited from it as well. Please feel free to reach out to goldsmithmovie.com. Everybody who's on the line here, you got to check out the movie, The Earned Life. I know that Marshall's going to have a book coming out as well in this. And Marshall, we're just really grateful for all your help and support.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.